Here we are in Tucson, Arizona. This is Bob Miller's 1966 95. And this is Andy Hutzel visiting Tucson. Bob's going to start it up and we're going to take it for a little spin. You can see it is a long nose, but it has a different front than my 96, my 95 in Alaska. Bob's is a 3-cylinder 2-stroke. As you can tell, it sounds pretty awesome. Tail lights are different on the 66 than the 96. So now this is Bob, we're gonna take it for a little ride.
And this one you unclip it from here.
Oh, okay.
And then reclip it down there. I'll get it for you since you have your hand occupied.
It's a kind of a warm day in Tucson. It's going to be in the 70s. Today's date is February 8th, 2014. And for me, coming from Alaska, it's very warm. Bob, actually, this ride's quiet, I think.
Usually over the engine you can't really hear much of the rest of the car. This has the sport exhaust. It's quite a bit louder than the stock exhaust was. But the engine's happy. What you're seeing is not a dirty windshield, but a partly delaminated one. I have another better windshield for it in my shed that I'm going to install. I've had this car since it was brand new. Or actually, my father bought it brand new in Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah, that is so cool.
The more it revs, the happier it is. You can't over-rev these engines. They're 2-strokes. They have a fairly narrow power band. You have to slip the clutch to get them going. And they will just run out of power if you rev too high. There's no valves to float, so you're not going to hurt the engine. The only way you'll hurt it is if you lug it. When I get finished taking Andy for his ride, we're going to switch and let him see what a 2-stroke feels like. I bet he stalls up the first time he starts it. He's used to a V4, a torque monster. Up, the engine's getting revier. When I lived back east and it was below 0, this car would take about 1 block before I had it heat. It would start instantly no matter what the temperature was. Got no oil in the crankcase to slow it down. The heater's pretty near the size of the engine, so I've had no problem keeping us warm. Engine's not even up to temperature yet. I have an oversized radiator in this, 3 times the thickness of the original, and an electric fan. Because it does get warm in Tucson.
All you SAAB aficionados out there will notice Bob's got a Monte Carlo dash. Change that over.
I wanted to have a tack. Although I suspect the tack reads low. We're going to find some twisty roads where you can see what a SAAB handle's like. I was having some carburetor problems that I was blaming on the ignition, because it would run fine when it was cold and then start to run rough when it got cold, or when it got warm, I mean. And what it was one of my floats had sunk. I have 3 carburetors. And it was getting too rich for the 1 cylinder. So when I rebuilt that carb, it started running the way it does now. Downshifting without the clutch. Freewheel lets us do that. I know what happened. I have to pull something out. The door button sticks sometimes, and if you leave it in, it's not really latched. So once you get up to 40 or so in 4th gear, it'll cruise very comfortably. In the lower gears, it doesn't have enough load on the engine, so you hear it putting. I run NGK A8s spark plugs, which are a little cool, but they never seem to foul, so I don't have a problem with them. I run a Pennzoil synthetic oil in it, about half as rich as what the old IM was. A pint and 8 gallons of gas instead of a quart. We can have some fun. So Andy, you can tell it doesn't accelerate as fast as yours, but it sounds like it's going really fast.
It does.
You can't appreciate this on the video, but we're smelling some 2-stroke exhaust. I have a small leak at the manifold. This is pulling up a fairly steep little hill in 4th gear. This engine's a bit of a hot rod that was built by Bud Clark in Orange, California. Basically a Monte Carlo engine, but running on premix.
Bob, since you said that your father bought this new, so that's 108,000 miles on the.
Oh, remember I said I put a Monte Carlo dash.
Oh, that's right.
This
yeah.
is not the original speedometer.
Okay.
No, the car has more than 250,000 miles on it.
Ooh.
It's been through about 6 engines and 3 transaxles. Had to have a little rust repair when I got to Arizona. Not surprisingly, none since then. The body was surprisingly good. It was rusted along the bottom of the firewall, but that's an important structural part, so I had it replaced. Here's another favorite twisty road we'll take on the way back down. Oh, looks like everybody else wants to go that way too. The enemy of every sporty driver, an SUV. So you see lots of freewheeling going down this hill. This one also handles a bit better than it did originally. The old lever shocks have been replaced with 2 Bilsteins. The front wheels are 6-inch fork rims welded to SAAB centers, so I can run 185/65 radials. Stock size in the rear, so it doesn't really understeer anymore. It also has not only the stock front anti-roll bar, but an aftermarket rear anti-roll bar. The body roll is not nearly as much as it used to be.